I've lived in the same house in Naperville, Illinois, for 11 years. My backyard is nothing special. A wooden deck off the back door, a gas fire pit I bought on sale 2 summers ago, and a 6-foot cedar privacy fence that runs the full perimeter. Beyond the back fence, there's a strip of grass, maybe 15 feet wide, and then the tree line for the small conservation area the neighborhood association maintains. It's the kind of backyard that exists in 10,000 subdivisions across the Midwest. Nothing special. Nothing that should have ever scared me. It started in early October on a Wednesday night. My wife had taken our daughter to visit her parents in Rockford for the week, and I was alone in the house for the first time in years. I'd been working late most nights and hadn't been outside after dark in weeks. That Wednesday I made myself a drink, turned on the gas fire pit, and sat down in a lawn chair just to decompress. It was around 9:30, cold enough to need a jacket. Quiet. I'd been out there maybe 20 minutes when the motion sensor light on the back of the house clicked on. I have one mounted over the deck, a wide-angle flood, the kind that covers almost the entire yard. It had come on before for raccoons or the neighbor's cat that kept squeezing under the fence. I looked up, expecting to see something small and four-legged moving around near the garden bed. The yard was empty. I sat still for a moment, watching. The light stayed on for its full 60-second cycle, then clicked off. I went back to my drink. It came on again about 4 minutes later. Same thing, nothing visible. I figured it was a moth or a bat triggering the sensor and let it go. The third time it came on, I noticed the back gate was open. I keep that gate latched. It's a spring latch with a handle on both sides, and it doesn't blow open in the wind because it swings inward, not out. I stared at it for a long moment, trying to remember if I'd been out that way recently. I hadn't. I'd been inside all day. I walked down to the gate and looked out into the strip of grass between my fence and the tree line. The motion sensor light doesn't reach that far, so I had my phone out, using the flashlight. The grass was still wet from the afternoon rain. There were footprints in it, heavy-soled boots or shoes, leading from the trees toward my gate. They stopped right at the threshold. Just stopped. No prints inside the yard, no prints leading back. I told myself someone had walked up, seen the gate by chance, maybe bumped it. Curious neighbor, lost dog walker, anything. I latched it, went back to my chair, and stayed outside another 20 minutes because I didn't want to feel like I was being run out of my own backyard. The light didn't come on again. I didn't say anything about it to my wife when she got home. It felt too thin, a gate and some footprints. Not worth worrying her over. About a week later, I was inside watching TV after dark and I heard something hit the deck. Not loud, a hollow knock like something dropped from a short height. I went to the back door and turned on the porch light. There was a garden trowel lying in the middle of the deck, the kind with an orange handle. I don't own a trowel with an orange handle. I've checked. I went through the garage twice. It's not mine. I still have it. It's sitting in a coffee can by the back step. I keep meaning to throw it away, but I don't. I don't know why. My wife asked where it came from about 2 weeks after I found it. I told her I bought it and forgot. She gave me a look like she didn't believe me, but she let it go. Last month I was in the backyard just after dusk, closing the umbrella on the patio table, when I looked toward the back fence and saw a shape in the tree line. It was just past the fence line, just inside the trees, standing still, too tall and too upright to be a deer. I stood there looking at it for what felt like a full minute. It didn't move. The motion sensor light clicked on. I must have shifted enough to trigger it, and when the yard lit up, the shape was gone. I don't know what I saw. I don't know who those footprints belonged to. I don't know where the trowel came from. But I haven't sat outside after dark since. My neighbor Dave has one of those above-ground pools, the big round kind, 12 feet across, on a wooden deck platform he built himself. Every summer he throws a few cookouts, and because we've lived next to each other for 6 years and our kids are the same age, we're usually on the invite list. Good guy. Normal family. The kind of neighborhood where everyone waves from the driveway. This past July, Dave and his wife took their 2 kids to his in-laws in Manitoba for 2 weeks. He asked me to keep an eye on the place, bring in the mail, make sure nothing looked off. I have a spare key. We've done this for each other before. The first few days were uneventful. I'd walk over in the morning, grab the flyers and catalogs from the mailbox, check the front door was locked, and head back. I didn't go into the backyard, no reason to. On the 5th day, I noticed the backyard gate was ajar. Dave has a 6-foot shadow box fence with a self-closing mechanism, same style as mine. The gate shouldn't have been open. I pushed it closed, heard the latch catch, and went back home. Figured the mechanism had gotten worn. Didn't think much of it. On the 7th day, I was in my own backyard after dinner, and I happened to look over the shared fence line toward Dave's yard. His pool has a light in it, one of those floating LED globes that Dave usually activates from his phone when they're having people over. It was on, glowing pale blue, just sitting in the still water. Dave was in Manitoba. No one was home. I stood there looking at it for a while. Could have been on a timer, I thought. Could have been something in the app he forgot to cancel. I went inside, found his number, and texted him. "Hey, your pool light is on. Everything okay?" He replied the next morning. Weird. "It's not on a timer. Could you check it out?" So that afternoon I went over with the spare key, unlocked the back gate, not the front door, just the back, and stepped into the yard. The pool light was off by then, or maybe it had run out of battery. I couldn't tell. The pool itself looked normal, but there was a towel folded on the edge of the deck platform. A dark green towel that I'd never seen before. Not one of Dave's. I'd been to enough barbecues to know their stuff. It was folded neatly, like it had been placed there on purpose. I took a picture and sent it to Dave. He said it wasn't his. I looked around the yard for anything else out of place. The patio chairs were in their normal spots. The charcoal grill with the cover on it. Everything normal except that towel. I left it there, relocked the gate, went home. I checked the yard again the following morning. The towel was gone. When Dave got home at the end of the 2 weeks, he went through his backyard himself. He called me over to look at something. On the inside of the fence, in the far corner near the gate, someone had made a small pile. A crushed water bottle, a granola bar wrapper, and what looked like a folded piece of notebook paper. Dave opened the paper. It had a hand-drawn grid on it, like a map or a diagram with no labels, just lines and boxes. He didn't recognize it. Dave called the non-emergency police line. An officer came out, took a report, looked at the fence for signs of forced entry, found nothing. Told us it was probably local kids using the pool while the family was away. Told us to add a padlock to the gate. Dave installed the padlock the next day. He also installed a camera that covers the gate. 3 weeks later, the camera caught something at 2:14 in the morning. A figure standing just outside the gate, facing it. Standing completely still for 4 minutes and 18 seconds. Then walking away in the direction of the street. The footage is low resolution, just enough to see a person-shaped outline. No face, no identifying details. The detective Dave showed it said there wasn't enough to go on. Dave doesn't use the pool anymore. He says his wife doesn't feel comfortable. I understand that. I find myself looking over the fence line more than I used to. I'm not sure what I'm looking for. I want to start by saying I'm not someone who scares easily. I grew up in rural Ontario, spent summers at a lake cabin without power, and I've never been the type to lie awake over bumps in the night. I'm telling you this because what happened last September still bothers me, and I need you to understand that it takes something real to bother me. My house is in a subdivision in Barrie, Ontario. Decent neighborhood. We've got a trampoline in the backyard that we bought when my son was 8. He's 12 now, mostly too old for it, but we've kept it. There's a shed in the back left corner where I keep the lawnmower and garden equipment. Cedar fence on 3 sides, and the back fence backs up to a utility easement, a strip of gravel and short grass about 10 feet wide, used by the power company to access the lines. Beyond that is another subdivision's rear fence line. So there's always foot traffic on that easement during the day. In the middle of September, I started noticing a man on the easement. The first time was a Saturday morning. I was in the backyard with a cup of coffee, and I saw him through the fence slats. A man walking the easement, heading east. Nothing unusual about that. People cut through there sometimes to get to the plaza. He was wearing a gray jacket and dark pants. Average height. I couldn't see his face clearly through the fence. I saw him again that afternoon, heading back in the other direction. Same jacket. I saw him on Sunday, Monday. Each time walking slowly. Not the gait of someone commuting. More like someone who was just moving, covering ground. I mentioned it to my wife, and she said she'd seen him too the week before, and had assumed he was a neighbor from the other subdivision who walked for exercise. On Wednesday evening, I was on the deck after dinner, and I saw him stop, right at the section of fence that runs behind our property. He stopped walking and stood still for almost a full minute, facing the fence. I couldn't see his face, just the top of his head through the slats. Then he walked on. On Friday, I saw him looking through the fence. I was in the kitchen, at the window over the sink, and I happened to look up toward the shed. There was an eye at the fence, at one of the gaps between the boards, just watching. When I moved toward the back door, he pulled back, and by the time I got outside, he was walking away down the easement. Same pace as always, unhurried. I called the non-emergency line. The officer I spoke to said that unless someone entered my property or made a direct threat, there wasn't much they could do about someone walking on a public easement. He said to document it. I started keeping notes, dates, times, direction of travel. By the end of that week, I had 12 entries. The entry stopped on a Thursday in late September, because that was the last time I saw him. What I mean is, he stopped appearing on the easement entirely. One week he was there every day, and then he wasn't. I told myself he'd moved, or found a different route, or I'd just gotten unlucky with the timing and never noticed how irregular his appearances had been. A month later, I was cleaning out the shed for winter, moving the lawn furniture inside, putting the garden tools away. I pulled the lawnmower out to the center of the yard to check the oil before storing it, and when I turned around to go back to the shed, I noticed the latch on the shed door was undone. I always latch the shed. It's a habit. The door swings in the wind otherwise. I went inside the shed and looked around. Everything seemed to be in order. Tools on their hooks, bags of fertilizer stacked against the wall. But on the workbench in the back, between the jars of screws and nails I keep organized by size, there was a photograph. It was a photo of my backyard, taken from outside the fence, through the slats, looking in at the trampoline. The photo was printed on regular copy paper, slightly blurry, like it had been taken on a phone and printed at a drugstore. It was oriented in a way that I recognized immediately. It had been taken from the same spot where I'd seen the man looking through the fence. I don't know when he put it there. I don't know how he got into the shed without me noticing. I don't know why he wanted me to find it. I replaced the shed latch with a padlock. I installed a camera. I never saw the man on the easement again. But I keep thinking about the photo, about the fact that he had printed it, that he had carried it to my shed, that he had left it for me to find. What do you do with that? Who do you tell? What does it mean? I don't know. I kept the photo. It's in a drawer in my office. I'm not sure why I kept it. Maybe because throwing it away feels like pretending it didn't happen, and I can't bring myself to do that. Some nights I go out and check the fence. I look through the slats at the easement. It's always empty. So far,